The simulation aspect. So let's just say you as a student just finished your freshman year in high
Hmm.
school, and you want to go to UT. And you finish your freshman year, you have a 3.2 GPA. Reality is, it's probably not going to, be the standout GPA to get into UT right now. So what the system does in terms of a simulation aspect is you set some of your strengths and goals that it's obviously adapting to you. It will actually take the next 3 years worth of course codes and tell you these are the classes that you need to take
Hmm.
and the grades you need to get in each class per semester in order to get to whatever your goal is. So let's say you want 3.9.
Yeah.
It'll map it out all the way through, and it keeps the engagement with that student, with that counselor, and that family. Like, are you continuing to be on track with that goal? And so it's not a guessing game, because that's how it's always been. It's like, all right, I didn't get the grade I wanted this semester. Like, what do I need to do next year? Like, kids don't know, and so to be able to map it out and
Hmm.
simulate that aspect, that's one kind of a modeling choice that we're doing on there. And then based on the kind of analytics that we're pulling, let's say you have a 3.5, it's feeding you based on your goals universities and perhaps current technical schools that fit within your goals, your GPA requirements, your test scores. So now let's just say you get a D in a class your
Yeah.
junior year. Those universities, they're going to be either through the algorithm being pushed to you, are going to be a little different looking, the next semester.
Yeah.
So it's constantly getting kids refreshed around not having to spend time like looking like, where do I fit in? It's like, we're just constantly feeding suggestions to kids to be able to kind of want to use their data and focus on it more.
Yeah. Now, is this school system, school district specific, or is there in your roadmap, you're going to open it up to general public to say, okay, here's my student information data combined with the national average or my county or my
Yeah.
state? Where do I stand?
Yeah, there's a lot of different verticals. I think, that's one of the things that we're kind of thinking through kind of. I love it, dude.
Pivot. You just said pivot. We're gonna
Let's just
pivot. I'm just gonna go to this
how's
microphone.
that? Is that good? That's
That's
good.
good. Let's see if someone complains. All right. You were saying the product roadmap.
Yeah, as you look at verticals up and down, I mean, things that we kind of think through is like within higher ed. I mean, think about the higher education institutions that also use student information systems. We have this kind of across the country. Students typically, did you know the most common reason? I didn't realize this. Most
Hmm.
common reason students drop out their first year in college.
What's that?
Take a guess. Take a wild guess.
I don't know. They don't have transportation.
They can't get along with a roommate. It's the social aspect. That's the
Yeah.
number one reason. I mean, there's other things like missing home and academic,
But they
challenges.
drop out because they don't like the roommate.
They just get in this social anxiety aspect. They just can't live with somebody or be around somebody their first year. So that's the number one reason. I didn't realize that. I was reading an article
Wow.
about that. So the verticals, as I was talking about, is in higher education, being able to capture kids early on before they drop out of school. Because think about every time the University of Tennessee admits a student who accepts it and they leave after their first year or first semester,
Mhm.
that's lost revenue for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
And so being able to be able to associate absenteeism and risk factors associated with that are one vertical. And then you obviously your vertical down is your middle schools and your elementary schools. But there's a lot of longitudinal data we can start looking at comparative to based on the predictive analysis of what's this district doing in this state that's effectively has similar subgroups and demographics, and what can they be doing over in say California versus New York versus Tennessee, and being able to translate some of those best practices from there.
So how do you guys stay compliant with, like, FERPA comes to mind, right? It's the privacy rules that regulate data or privacy in education. So when you go sign up a school district, how does that work?
Yeah, so part of the early process I wanted to kind of get us into was completing the SOC 2 certification, which is basically a audit, a whole process. It took about 8 to 9 months to do so, to get everything set up to make sure that our process with handling data was to the utmost standard of what these school districts are looking for. So finishing that, every state has their own kind of individualized data. Student data privacy agreements, typically statewide. Sometimes the larger districts have their own unique, maybe offset. We started this in California because that's where I was from, and kind of just the large student information system out there, Aries, it controls a lot of the market. But California has their own NDPA. that we provide to school districts upon contracting. Because that was a big thing, is when a district is interested in working with us, I'm providing them already kind of a pre-filled California NDPA proposal, everything that they need to kind of get started. But it's just making sure that the protocols match what their expectations are, and dealing with student data. Because it's, like you said, it's a whole new world for us. But having to go through these audits every 3 months, with kind of these SOC 2 audits, make sure that we're set up for any sort of challenges that may exist, or for any data breaches and so forth.
So our clients are the same, right? We work with government, and trying to sell technology into the government is a long process.
Yeah.
Right. It's not as easy as, you like my product, here, buy it. It's
Yeah.
a long process. And now when you start talking about AI enabled products, there's also a pushback on people not trusting, what happens to the data after.
Yeah.
I know you've SOC 2 compliant and all of that, but there's just this fear, uncertainty, lots of bad news about AI. Are you facing some of those headwinds?
It's a great question. I think that, I went around and I found about a dozen mid-sized districts, and I asked them all, like, what are they doing to kind of start the movement around AI? And surprisingly, as you probably know, as well, just as well as a lot of people, education is probably one of the slowest moving industries, and so not having the clear directive plan in place is a challenge. I'm finding that these more of like early entry market processes, like being a partner with them and navigating through this with them, has been more of a conversational piece, versus like, what are you doing with our data? It's AI. I think they're excited in most cases about AI in terms of the efficiencies around it. But I think, with some of these more forward facing, faster paced organizations or industries, we would probably get a lot more of that. But I think it's just, like the way we're positioning this is like the entry point with AI in your district, and how you leverage AI. And we're doing this and building in conjunction, because it's the most wild thing. Check this out. And this goes into leveraging AI as well. This kind of opened my eyes up. So last summer, if you wanted to build feature A and B, you sat down with your design team and you spend, a couple weeks creating the wireframe, designing out how it's going to add to your MVP, do these things. It's probably going to cost you over 5 months, these feature A and B, $50,000-$60,000 just for these two features. Now with this, 4 months ago, we just started this advent of vibe coding, which, it's a big buzzword now, where you plug in your instance into a large language model and you get to design things. So we'll have customers who are thinking about AI stuff, and to actually physically show them. I had a customer last week, 3 customers actually, say, hey, we really like your product, but if you had these 2 things in here, like, we would buy it tomorrow, just because it'll help us sell this, because it would close out the other renewals in place. So I contacted our CTO, and we got a couple of computer science guys, one from UT, one from Penn, who are computer science degree majors. And I'm like, okay, we need this. So we literally built out those features over a weekend, vibe coded them, sent them over to our senior developer on a Monday. He spent till Wednesday just looking through the code, and I went back that next Thursday and I was like, check it out, it's already done. And they're like, what? I mean, AI works on kind of both ends, as far as production quickness in terms of being able to get it in front of the customer, but to actually have something, the customer was like, I love AI. Like, this is crazy.
No, I mean, I'm completely on board with that. And I think, I'm going to get on a soapbox here a little bit, but that feature and that capability is going to upend all kinds of software markets, right? Because what we see is, most of our work is in the ERP space.
Yep.
And the market is, it's competitive, but like there's 3 or 4 players that own it.
Yep.
In GovTech. And what we find is, you move from system A to system B because 20% of this system doesn't work for you, and now you're in this space where some other 20%, 30% fails.
Yeah.
And you're back in that circle, right? With how quickly you can iterate product now.
Crazy.
You should be able to plug in those. It's like almost Lego bricks. Here, you like this one or that one better?
Yeah.
And if you don't like that one, I'll come back next week with something new. And it's just going to be very exciting once people get that right.
And I think the one thing, and I was very I wouldn't say I was very turned off in the beginning, but I was very like one of the things I've seen kill a lot of companies is kind of this aspect of feature chasing because you're always kind of trying to build. But with the new way of doing things, you can be very systematic, very cost prohibitive. Like you can be a lot more intentional with that and a lot more impactful by utilizing these new abilities to code versus like the old ways of doing things.
Yeah.
And it's a wild ride in terms of what we're about to see.
It's just speed, and I think that's great for our customers because they don't have the in-house.
Yeah.
Most of them don't have the in-house talent to build stuff that might be useful to them.
Yeah.
And closed systems don't allow you to actually build and bolt things onto them. But all of that's changing. We're gonna take some audience questions. Let me sift through these. You don't sound good comments. All right. Do you see AI and automation shaping the future of academic advising, perhaps through predictive analytics that flag at-risk students early, or intelligent scheduling tools that anticipate demand before registration spikes?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, one of the things that we're starting to see with AI, especially in education, is it's not going to replace the person.
Yeah.
Because within education, like systemically, that individual has to have that human connection with that student to be able to kind of affect change. I think where I see it becoming more effective is the automation aspect of being able to, from a risk modeling, for example, like which kids, like the system that we're dealing with is like which kids are on track to drop out in the next 6 weeks and why. What is this? What is the predictive analytics? And obviously working through those biases, but to be able to look at historical data, compare it to current data, and be able to be right in front of that educator saying, hey, you need to meet with this kid today. This is why, and this is kind of the corrective action that you should be taking. That's where I see in terms of the predictive value being a big kind of time saver of catching those kids. Because if we think about just a school that has 2,500 high school kids, and there's 4 or 5 counselors, I mean, the counselors are dealing with the students who are kind of sifting to the bottom, and the ones that are way at the top, and everybody in the middle is kind of just being kind of
on their own.
And how do you make sure that those kids on their own don't continually fall into that smaller bucket of kids? And so that risk modeling is going to be important, as well as that kind of intelligent scheduling, as the question asked, is going to be huge, because this is all time associated with them.
Yeah. Are you strictly in the K-12 space, or are you in higher ed also?
Just K-12 right now. I mean, there's obviously a vertical to be able to kind of move in that direction, but right now it's the K-12, just because it's the biggest impact right now in terms of what's happening in public education in terms of support needed.
And public education only. You're not
so right now public, but private, there's a big market for this as well. Probably even so much more. But I mean, I think right now for the high stakes and high needs in public education.
So, there's a lot of chatter about AI again. The marketing around AI is so powerful that people, Copilot's going to change your life. And I'm sorry, but it's not the most powerful product on the market. So how do you, again, going back to adoption on the client side, right? We are facing these issues where clients will call us and say, hey, Copilot doesn't work for me, but they haven't done the work of making sure the data is right, that it's in the right space, that it's clean and useful.